Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Minjan. I will be the instructor for the USACO Bronze class in the fourth semester and the following spring semester. The purpose of this class is to help you guys pass the bronze contest and be promoted to the silver level at USACO. This class will take the online format. I'm from Houston, Texas. So even some classes, we're going to have the students sitting in the physical classroom, but still everybody would still connect through the Zoom online meeting. And you might, okay, there are more people keep coming in here. And also it could happen that you may be disconnected from the meeting every now and then. It's not because I disconnect the classroom. It is because maybe the connection, the internet connection has some issue, and then you might be dropped from the class. This could happen to you, could happen to me. Actually, this happened to me several times in the summer classes. If this happens, don't worry, just come back and make sure that you're going to have a reliable internet connection. So here, my secret is I worked a deal with my neighbor. So if my Wi-Fi is not working, we're going to use theirs. And if theirs is not working, they're going to use ours. So this has worked very well in the past 2 years during the pandemic, since a lot of us are using the online classes for students and for people working from home. All right, so many of you should have taken the introductory class for computer programming. Either you have taken it in Java or C++ or Python. Actually, it does not matter what language you have used. As long as you know how to do coding, then you can start this class. This class now is designed to last 2 semesters. So we're going to take a slower pace than the summer camps. In the summer camp, we're going to finish within 30 hours. We have the introductory class, we have the bronze class, silver class, and gold class, all would finish in 1 week. That means 30 hours. So we could do with 1 week, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that's 30 hours. That can expand into 2 weeks. We can have 3 hours a day for 2 weeks, or we can have 5 weekends. Every weekend, we're going to spend 6 hours. So those would be more condensed, faster pace. And for the year-long class, we're going to take a slower pace, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. Particularly, we're going to provide the transition to the next level. So, you know, in USACO contests, there are 4 rounds each season. The first round is in mid-December, right after finish all your final exams and before you take this Christmas break. So normally that would be the 3rd Friday. And then the next round would be January, and then 3rd round in February. There is another round. The last round is called the US Open round. Normally happens at the end of March, but could also happen at the beginning of April, as in season 2021. So every round, there are 4 days. From Friday through Monday, pick 4 hours in the first 3 rounds or 5 hours in the last round. You're going to finish 3 questions. So right after you finish the contest, you know your grades or your score. Okay, the score would be, okay, some of you might not know the scoring method. Here is how this you get your score. So 3 questions, each one counts 1,000 over 3 points. So that's for question 1, question 2, and also question 3. And you're going to be scored by how many cases you pass. So the total cases in question 1 and how many cases you passed. If you pass all the test cases here, you get the full credit for the question 1. And you do how many cases you pass in question 2 over the total cases there. The cases you passed in question 3 over the total cases for question 3, and you add them together. So if you have passed all the test cases for all the questions, then you would get the perfect score would be 1,000 points. So if you get 1,000 points, then you would be promoted right on site. You have multiple chances to submit. There is no penalty for multiple submission. And your record, your score would be based on the last submission. For example, if I say there are 10 cases, right? The first round, I submitted version and passed 8 out of 10. So you get 80% of the 333.33 points in question 1. The second round, right, you want to do better, but turned out only passed the 7 cases out of the 10, then your score would be 70%. There's no definite answer, say one question may be harder than the other one. This is, well, depend on the person, right? The question may be hard for others, maybe easier for you. Some other questions may be harder for you, but easier for others. So it depends. In general, one question may be harder than the others. That's okay. That is the way you want. You don't want everybody to get 1,000 out of 1,000. So if you get 1,000 points, of course, you would be promoted right there. You would get a message saying, hey, Jack, do you want to be promoted to silver? Of course, everybody will say yes. And then at that moment, you are a happy USACO silver contestant. And then theoretically, you can start taking the silver contest the next minute. But normally we do not do that. We're going to suggest you take a break because silver would be harder. Yeah. Okay. So we do have students that can pass from bronze to gold within 1 weekend. So Friday taking the bronze, get promoted to silver, and Saturday doing the silver. Again, got a perfect score, and then a Sunday would take the gold contest. But it would be very, very rare to get promoted to platinum in 1 weekend. I know that happened before, but it's very, very rare. That's right. If you get a perfect score, then you would get promoted right there, right? If you don't get a perfect score, but high enough, for example, right, I got about 900 points, then you would not be promoted in this round. You have to wait until the next month. This depends on the passing threshold. When do we know the passing threshold? Normally, the Friday or Saturday, right after this weekend. So suppose, right, today, that's the weekend for this round of the USACO contest. So we still have Monday, tomorrow, to submit by the end of the deadline. And then by the coming Friday or coming Saturday, we should have the threshold posted at USACO website. Then you know, if you get 900 points, right? If the passing score is 750, so normally that's the passing threshold. If you get a score 750 or above, then you know you will be promoted to the next level. So in the next round, you can take the contest at a higher level. If your score, unfortunately, if it is I got a 733, then sorry, you have to take the bronze again. You're right. You have 4 chances to get the promotion in 1 season. So the season actually starts in December and ends in, depends, right? Sometimes would be the end of March, sometimes would be the beginning of April. Each test, you're going to have 4 hours for 3 questions in the first 3 rounds, the December round, January round, and February round. You have 4 hours, no matter what level you are, bronze, silver, gold, platinum. All students have 4 hours to finish the 3 questions. In the US Open round, the last round, you have 5 hours for 3 questions. You don't need to be qualified for bronze. That's different from the Olympic Games, as we just had in the past 2 weeks, right? If you want to be in the Olympic Games, you have to qualify, and then you have to compete. Only the top 3 would get the gold, silver, bronze medal. But here is different. In USACO, when you start, you are a bronze medalist. You don't have to qualify. Right. Mm-hmm. So that will make you feel better, right? Yeah, actually, well, a little bit, everything has the 2 sides. If you start from the bronze, then you only can be promoted 3 times, right? What if bronze to silver? It's okay. I think many people can do this, right? Silver to gold still, some can do this one, but gold to platinum, the percentage will be much lower. So from bronze to platinum, not many people can achieve that title. It's always online, you're right, Sophia. So actually, when suggesting, right, maybe we should make the levels more, right? From bronze to platinum, rather than 4 levels, we're going to make maybe 9 levels as we play Go game. Or if you play chess, right, you have, say, a start from maybe 200 or maybe 500, and then we're going to go, say, shoot for 1,000, and then 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, and so on. And then achieve 2,000, keep working higher, right? 2,500 or 2,700 or even 3,000. Yeah, so like that one. So probably that will change as more and more students participate in the USACO contests. That's also right, PD. Okay, one more thing, when you join the class, you would have your name spelled. PD here, well, I guess we can guess, right? Your name, Peter Dawson, right? In the actual class, you have to put your name there, and then either I or the TA would let you in from the waiting room. So if your login name, right, from the from Zoom is, say, Jack's iPhone, then probably we don't know who you are. Maybe Jack is your brother. Maybe Jack is your friend, right? So we cannot do that. So you have to put your name, otherwise we cannot let you in. Anyway, so just a side note. And we're going to have very interactive discussion in the classes like this one, right? You can keep sending me messages in the actual content classes. You're also actually not welcome, you're encouraged to talk, because in this training we're going to develop your ability for logical reasoning. We also encourage you to develop your abilities to express yourself clearly and in a concise way. This is very important as you go along, especially when you go to gold and platinum level. Your ability to express yourself clearly is very, very important. Actually, you should participate in the discussion. And actually, we're going to break you guys into smaller rooms. The TA and I would just walk from room to room. So as if we're doing in the physical classroom, and we're going to put students into groups, and we're going to join the discussions so that we can see what questions you might have. And then you say, hey, my code does not run well. What went wrong? So we can either put students in groups or in individual rooms, and we're going to visit each room one by one. How long does it take to advance to silver? Well, this depends. Used to be much easier. Okay, guys, if you ask questions too fast, I cannot address them. So I can only pick or answer those questions that I have the chance to address. All right. This is a good question. I think Tom Q asked, how long does it take to get promoted or advance to silver? This depends. For the seasons of 2016, 2017, when platinum was first added to the contest, it was actually easier. This class during those years, right, actually was designed for just one semester. That means most students in the class would be promoted to silver after one semester. Now that's not the case. Actually, after one semester, less than 1/3 of the students would be promoted to silver. So the majority still would fight for, it is working in the bronze contest. So that's why it is getting harder, and we're trying to make this one more solid. And this class now expands into 2 semesters. Race question, homework viewed graded? Yes, we're going to have homework, and then the TA and I would grade your homework. And the grading actually is easy. Sometimes we're going to just provide you the input and output. You can just check the output by yourself, but we would answer questions that you might have. Actually, how do you know your score, right? Like this one here, right? We're going to have, say, the number of total cases and then the number of cases you pass. How do you know you passed the case? For each test case, you have the output. If your program produces the same output, then you get that case correct. So you know the score for each question in the USACO training, just like AMC, right? If it's multiple choice or just a single number, then you know your answer, whether you're right or wrong. That goes from AMC all the way through, say, Amy, right? That checking the answers would be easy. And we don't care about, so how fast you did, right? If, say, Jack writes, say, 100 lines to get the answer, and you wrote, say, 20 lines of code, as long as you got the same correct answer, we count it. There is no, say, more beautiful or more elegant. As long as you get the answer in the time limit, we also will count them good, correct. Of course, right? At the bronze level, we do not really care about the efficiency. Maybe at the end of the spring semester, we're going to make the transition to the silver level, and then we're going to start talking about the efficiency. Or maybe the last quarter of the bronze class, we're going to start talking about efficiency. In the first part, 3 quarters, we're going to mainly focus on how you come up with an idea and then how to put the idea into code. That's the focus for the bronze class. Okay, let's go down to the bottom here. Good question. The last question Tom asked, right? Is there any difference between, say, different languages? For USACO, the policy is C++ would have 2 seconds per test case, and then Java and Python would have 4 seconds per test case. So far, if you run it on your computer, normally would be it would take much less than that amount of time. Why? Because your computer and also my computer would be faster than the USACO server. So sometimes you say, right, I passed the problem on my computer. I counted 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Before I counted 4 seconds, right, the answer is out. So I thought my code is fast enough. Why, when I submit to USACO server and it says timed out? Well, because your computer is faster. So if that's the case, right, try. And then if this happens a lot, then you have to allow yourself, right? Maybe on my computer, I'm going to give myself just 3 seconds, just count 3 times Mississippi. Then if it finishes, then you say, yeah, okay, my code should work. All right, okay. So who has this one here? Angela says, right, you're right. So each question is worth 333 points. depending, right? Some questions may have more test cases. So could it be 10 here? Could it be 20 here? Could it be 15 here? So depending on the percentage, right? The percentage times this one here, that would be your score for question 1 and 2 and 3. Add them together, that's your total score for the 3 questions. Anyway, your total score, right, should not be more than 1,000. The average number of test cases, so this varies. Sometimes the typical one would start from 10. Now it's getting, the number of the test cases would get bigger. So now it's not uncommon to see 20, but I have not seen more than 20 yet. Okay, Eagle's question. Do I plan to do this one in C++? Actually, in the first 2 levels, bronze and then silver, we're going to do Java. And then from gold and platinum, we're going to do both C++ and Java. Why? The reason we choose Java, actually from the introduction to silver, Java is selected because in all the high schools, the APCS classes are still taught in Java, and also the APCS test still is administrated using Java. So now we're still using Java to make sure, right, you have the, if you're familiar with Java, or you have to take the APCS class, take the AP test, why don't we just go with Java? Anyway, in USACO, language is not a big factor. As long as you know the basics, how to use the fundamentals, plus the data structures and also the associated algorithms, then does not make much difference. All right, okay. So how much math is needed for USACO? Very good question, I like it. Even though at Momentum, we do both Math Olympiad, Physics Olympiad, Computing Olympiad, right? Math Olympiad, actually, we encourage you start earlier. If you start, say, 3rd grade, 4th grade, that's fine. But for USACO, Computing Olympiad, we do recommend the students start a little bit later. Typically, we require students that have finished the algebra, because, right, you need to know how to do programming. So we're going to have a very strong background for math, for logical reasoning, but you don't have to be super fast. So if you do say, I'm good at MC10, for the first, say, MC10, 25 questions, if you feel comfortable up to, say, question 20, then you're good enough to do USACO for gold and even for platinum. But of course, right, we're going to do more for more math in USACO, but all the math will be self-contained. You don't need to do extra math training outside of this series. Any website for real test? Actually, yeah, usaco.org. Thank you, Tom. Good. Okay, so time goes fast. This class, right? Even though it's called open class, but still, I want to do something here. Actually, I did prepare for 3 questions here listed on my screen, right? Probably we don't have time. Okay, we're going to just try a typical question here. This one is called Sudoku. So let me send this question to everyone. There's one participant, right? The name is question mark. So in class, right, how do you call you? Hey, question mark, how do you solve this question? Kind of interesting, right? So I'm going to do desktop, and that is Sudoku. All right, oops. I think I want to send to everybody, but still just send to Angela. So desktop and Sudoku. All right, so everybody, right, you should have received this file, sudoku.txt, and if you open it, it will be like this. Okay, so this is a typical question, even though it's not in the past USACO contest. So here, we're going to read an array of size n by n, and we're going to check whether this n by n matrix, right, is a valid Sudoku. That means n itself is a square number. We're going to check each row and each column and also each block where each number from 1 through n would appear. So in this sample input here, the array size is 9 by 9. So each row we want to see all the numbers 1 through 9 appear. Each column we also want to see all the numbers 1 through 9 would appear. And also each block, what is block, since n is itself a square number, so we're going to say square root of n, in this case, will be 3 by 3 here. So another 3 by 3, another 3 by 3 here. So for each block, we want to see whether all the numbers 1 through 9 would appear. If that's the case, then we say this is a valid Sudoku. Otherwise, it is invalid. So invalid, you need to find out one count example, right? Either there's one row does not see all the numbers, or one column you don't see all the numbers, or one block you don't see all the numbers, then that's enough. So how do we tell whether a n by n matrix is valid Sudoku? This one is not too hard, right? At least
wait, I know, I have an idea.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So for every row, we could do something like this. So for every time we see a number,
Yeah.
First of all, we have to determine. First of all, we have to. If we see a number, we add it into a list called use,
okay.
and then and then if we see another number, and it's already in use, then we return false.
You're right. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. So you can check all the rows using this method, right? If I see the number in the list already, then I know this is invalid. We're going to try all the columns. And also we're going to try all the blocks. So anytime if a list, right, a number has appeared, now we're going to see it again, then we say this Sudoku is invalid. Very good idea. So let's see how this idea can be implemented. Okay, so now we're going to do this one. In this class, we're going to assume you're going to use an IDE, integrated development environment. And I'm going to show this one using Eclipse. Eclipse is a lightweight IDE. That means it takes a short time to upload and also to install. And actually now Eclipse installation does not need your admin password. So that is good. So even you don't have the admin privilege on your computer, you can still run Eclipse. Actually, Eclipse will also run for C++. But if you want to do both, then normally I would recommend you're going to create a project for each question, and then you're going to use one language as the main choice, and then the other one as a supportive language. So now my strategy, I'm going to use Eclipse Java to manage the projects, and I'm going to use either Genie for C++ or DevCpp for C++. And for Python, so far I don't have a good one, so I'm going to compile the Python programs using my command window. So it's still a little bit tedious, so it does not have the IDE. Okay.
Would VS work like the VS Studio?
Yes, of course, VS Studio works for C++. So just stay with the IDE that you like, you're familiar, then that works. Okay, so here would be, I'm going to create a project here for this class. Normally I'm going to do this one, so that's August 15th. That's in the afternoon, so P for afternoon. And then I'm going to click finish. This is a small project normally for USACO, so you don't have to do the module info. So just say don't create, just one file anyway, right? You know the submission. No matter how fancy your code is, you can only submit one file for one question. So here we're going to create a class here. So this would be say Sudoku. And we're going to check main here. And you know, right, if you do this one, you're going to use the import. We're going to just, for simplicity, we're going to import the all the classes in the util package. So later you don't have to do say arrays or lists, all other data structures that are included in util package. When you say use the dot star, so all the classes in the util package are included here. And we don't worry about the space, is right? This is not necessary. Yes, it is true. But for the USACO contest, this part does not bring any issue. Say you're running out of space, that's not the issue here. If you import or not, right, does not affect the memory usage much. Okay, so we're going to say read from the input here. It says, right, we're going to read from the terminal. This is the current style from USACO. Yes, there is a limit for memory usage. Each question, each submission, right, you're allowed to use no more than 256 megabytes of memory. And the time, right, we said this will be 4 seconds if you're using Java or Python. So this is Java or Python. And then only 2 seconds if you do C++. The size limit, I think you mean the memory size, not your source code. Source code normally will be tiny, right? 2K. You're not going to write, say, 1,000,000 lines of code. You can't, right? You only have 4 hours. So maybe you write 100 lines, that's still maybe 1K, 2K bytes. All right, so that's not an issue here. So we're going to do this here. So suppose we're going to read, first read N. So I'm going to, first we're going to do the scanner, say input, that is new scanner. We're going to read from the terminal. So this becomes the new standard for USACO. You're going to read from the terminal or the standard in, and you're going to write, you're going to print out the result to the terminal or the standard output. So we're going to read from the standard input here, system.in. First, I'm going to read N. Oops, chapter 2. Okay, so this will be the size of the Sudoku. And we're going to save this array into, save this Sudoku array into this array here. So I'm going to say this is a new int, and this will be n and n. And we're going to write this, read this into the array. So each number, right, array A at row R in a column C, we're going to read it in dot next. Okay, so we're done with reading. So you can do this one in dot close. So in Java, it is good habit. If you open a piece of resource, you're going to close it. If you don't close it, you're going to have a warning. So actually, this is not just for USACO programming. This is good habit for any programming. You open it, you close it. All right, so for input, it's optional, but for output, you have to close it. Well, for standard output, you don't have to again, because you don't have the control, say you're gonna lock the output, the STD, the terminal. But if you write to a file, then you have to close it. I know, right? Many of you have made the mistake. I did, you know, the output is right. I showed, checked on my screen, it worked, but why when I submit to user server still complains no output? Because you did not close it. So this is also one of the reasons now we're going to write to the output, to the standard output, the terminal. Then whether you close it or not, does not matter. Actually, that's the same now for C++. You close it or don't, it's okay. But in Java, if you write to a file, you still have to close it. Otherwise, the OS will assume you don't release the control to the file. All right, so now we have the 2D array ready. And now we're going to check whether all the rows, check the rows, columns, and then the blocks are valid. That means we're going to see the numbers 1, 2, all the way through n. All of them would appear once and only once. Right? If any number appears twice, then another number, there must exist another number that does not appear. That's easy to understand, right? Each number, all the numbers to appear, then that means every number must appear only once. Okay, so let's try this one here. Say check all the rows. I'm going to say have a helper function here. So this is in Java. If you want to use the function here later in the main, you have to declare this helper function also as static. So here we're going to say Boolean check rows, or you say to make it easy, right? So valid rows. So here I'm going to have. So the point for this, right? Check if all the rows are valid. So far it will complain, why? Because I said I'm going to return a variable of type Boolean, but I did not have the return statement. So I'm going to have say return true. So we're not a complaint, but it's not correct yet, right? Because not every array A would have the valid rows. So we're going to try this one here. R goes from 0 here, R less than n, and R plus plus. I'm going to try for each row. Oh, I don't have this n, so I'm going to do a dot length. Okay, now I'm going to check for this row R here. The column index will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way through a dot length minus 1. For all the positions, right, we're going to see the number whether you have appeared. If it's not, we're going to add to the list. Otherwise, I'm going to say the row is invalid. So here I'm going to have a list here, array list, and integers used. So this would be the number. Store the integers that have appeared. Make sense? I think probably we're going to change this number name to say appeared. Okay, so now I'm going to check, right? C goes from 0, C less than a dot length. This time, actually, I'm taking advantage. This is a square matrix. Yes, during the contest, you are allowed to use an IDE. So here, if this integer, right, A, R, C here, this is the integer in row R here, but at column C, if this number has already in the list appeared, then I know this is wrong, right? I'm going to say whether this one appeared dot contains. I think it has removed here. All right, so if this A, R, C, the value, right, at row R and column C has appeared in the list here appeared, then I know this row R is invalid, right? You have a number that has appeared more than once. Then what you can do, you just return false. You don't have to check others. Okay, so this appeared dot contains this number would be one violation for this Sudoku to be valid. One violation is enough to say the whole matrix is invalid. Okay, otherwise, what do? If this integer A at row R, column C, right, has not appeared before, that's easy. I'm going to say appeared dot add A at RC. At row R and column C, I'm going to add this integer to the list appeared. That makes sense, right? This number has appeared. I'm going to add to the list. So next time, right, if this number appears one more time, I would have this checking. So you must add this integer into the list for future reference. Andrew's question, right, for Python. Well, so far for bronze and silver, every question can be solved in Python. It's just in the high level, gold and platinum. There are questions we have checked. No matter how you improve your code in Python, you just cannot finish the calculation within the time limit. So maybe you should get to know Java or C++. Anyway, if you're in high school, you have to use Java to take AP class and also AP test. All right, so here, this part, right, we checked every element in row R because we have exhausted all the column choices from 0 to nth minus 1. Again, right, I said this one to take advantage of the fact this array A is a square matrix. This one actually should be AR.length. Right, that's how many elements in this row are here. But the number of rows and number of columns are the same, so I can just ignore it to use just one number. You're right, for this bronze class, we're going to have, we're going to use Java. But if you just pay, a little attention, right, reading through the Java code would be quite easy, comfortable. Right, maybe it would take you about an hour or two to get familiar with, the Java code. And the same thing, actually, if you do C++, then actually this part would be the same. If you do this one as a vector, then you don't have to even change anything. Oh, I'm sorry, change. You're going to change the .length with size. Otherwise, it would be the same. Or if you pass this one as n and m, right, the number of rows, number of columns, then you don't have to change anything. Basically, you can copy paste the code between Java and C++. All right, so that's how you check the rows. If all the rows are valid, we're going to return true. If any row is not valid, then we're going to return false. That's here. Okay, so what if, right, there's no number that appears more than once? Do you think that's possible? If no number has appeared more than once, then each number must have appeared once. Of course, right, all the numbers must be in the range. You don't have a number to say that's -1 or -100. We're going to avoid that. Right, if you want to do another one, then we're going to say if ARC is less than or equal to 0, or ARC is big, then do we have n a.length? Or it has appeared. Let's remove that one. Okay, to make sure we see them in one row, we have this one here. Okay, so that will make it even more rigid, right? So this number is not negative or 0. It's not bigger than n. So this will guarantee, right, if the two conditions are put there, then I guarantee ARC must be an integer between 1 and n inclusive. And also this one does not contain ARC in the list appeared, then we're going to be fine. Otherwise, if any condition is true here, we're going to return false. All right, so that's for the rows, and you can collapse this part. We're going to do the same thing for the columns. Check if all the columns are valid. So here, static, Boolean, valid columns. You can say, probably I can, just copy paste the one. Yeah, Jeffrey has a good idea, right? If I want to save the time, can I do this one in the same function? You can. But you have to rotate the array. Right here, I'm not going to rotate the array. I'm going to just pretty much do the same thing here. So I'm going to fix C first. So when I fix C, that means I'm going to check a column, right? And then I'm going to do the rows here. So for R goes from 0, R less than A dot length. Okay, sure, that's fine. We're going to have code here. Roughly the same thing here. I'm going to have a list, array list appeared. So if ARC, if it is less than or equal to 0, or ARC is bigger than A dot length, or appeared dot contains A, R, and C here, we're going to say return false. Otherwise, appeared dot add A, R, and C here. And if no column has validated the rule, I'm going to return true. Okay, so you're right. So this part, right, you can avoid the duplicates, but you're going to do a rotation of the matrix A. Java is a row measured language. That means if you check the entries in a 2-dimensional array, we're going to go, the first one is the row index. The second one would be the column index. And then we go continue. We're going to go row after row after row. Some languages we're going to go column based. Actually, you're going to go column 0, column 1, and column 2, and so on. So Java, C++, Python, all row measured. There's a mistake here. I missed another one here. Yeah, you can write everything in the main function. That's fine. I just want to, sometimes I can collapse this one here, right, in a helper function. So my main function kind of making it clear, right? I'm going to write the first part. I'm going to read the input, check the rows, and if all of them are correct, so here my code, right? So if here valid rows A and valid columns A and valid blocks, then I'm going to say print, this would be say valid, else invalid. And of course, right, I don't have the function valid static boolean valid blocks. And I have to have a statement here. So if I do provide this function, right, then it will not complain. So here my main function looks like clean. I'm going to hide the, the procedures, right, the steps here in the helper functions. Yeah, sure. I'm going to send the code in a moment, right? So try to make sure, right, everybody is following me here. And you're going to do the blocks. So blocks, I'm going to run a little bit faster here. So I'm going to define n, that's a dot length here. And we're going to do the square root of m, a square root of n, that would be say int math dot square root of n here, and square root will return a decimal, but I'm going to cast into integer. So m is the square root of n. So I'm going to check. I don't have enough time to go this one here, right? For each block here, I'm going to use the upper left corner as the reference. The upper left corner for each one, right? So for this 9 by 9, so I'm going to go 0, 0, 0, 3, and 0, 6. And the next one should be 3, 0, 3, 3, and 3, 6, and so on here. So I'm going to just go here, and then probably you can figure it out later. So here, the upper left corners, right? Is say the upper left corner, you are here. Upper left corner row starts from 0 here. Upper left corner are less than n upper left corner R would increase by M here. Upper left corner C, that's 0 here, upper left corner C less than N. So now I specified the upper left corner row and column indices, right? Now we have a block. How big is the block? Would it be M by M here? So now we're going to have array list, again, integers. So appeared okay, try this one here. I'm gonna do, come on. Okay, so R goes from 0, R less than M here, plus plus. Each block, right, is again a square matrix of size M by N. So here, C goes from 0, C less than M, here C plus plus. So here, if appeared dot contains, this time should be A at upper left corner R plus R here, upper left corner C plus C here. If this one has appeared before, then you know this one is bad. You're going to return false. Otherwise, just add it in. So appeared dot add. This would be A at upper left corner R plus R, upper left corner C plus C here. Okay, if there is no violation, I'm going to return true. Oh, I do have this statement. Yeah. Okay, so here just a little bit different, right? So I have specified the upper left corner row and column indices. And then we're going to check for each block here. Each block is of size M by M here. So the absolute coordinates or the row column indices, right, would be upper left corner, the reference plus R, upper left corner C plus C. So this will go navigate every element in the block referenced at the upper left corner. So if this number has already appeared in this list here, then that's wrong. Otherwise, we're going to add this number to the end of the list appeared. Again, if you want to make it sure, right, make sure this number is between 1 and N. But you can add that one later. Okay, so now all the three functions have been good. Then I can use this one here in the main function. And if all of them return true, the answer is valid. Otherwise, if any one of them is valid, then is invalid, then the answer is invalid. All right, so before I let it go right, everybody should have this function here. So I'm gonna go from make a copy of this one here and put this one to the paste. And I should be able to go to this one. Then everybody should have this one here. And let me run this. So we're going to run this one here as an example, right? So we're going to have this 9 by 9. This one should be valid. Let's run this. So I'm going to run from here. It will accept the input from the terminal. And then the answer is valid. Alrighty. Okay, so hope even though we're in a hurry, right, to get this one, hope you get the idea. For a USACO question at bronze level, you don't have to make it really fancy, not that complicated. This one actually is pretty long using the standard for bronze. Normally we should be able to finish the coding within 60 lines. This one actually took us almost 80 lines. But it's okay, as long as you have an idea, a working idea, a correct idea. We don't mind, we don't care about the efficiency at the beginning. So pretty much every question at the bronze level, as long as your idea is correct, you should be able to get the full credit. Okay. That's a good question, right? How much time do you think do I think you should spend working on each question? On average, right, 4 questions I mean, 4 hours for 3 questions. So you have about an hour and 20 minutes per question. So during your practice at the beginning, give yourself maybe 2 hours, that's fine. If it's taking you more than 2 hours, think about it further. Maybe you should change your idea, change your approach, because every question is not going to, it's not supposed to take you more than 2 hours. Of course, right at the beginning, maybe you say, I'm not so familiar with the language. That's a different story. So if that's the case, allow yourself more time until you get comfortable with language, whether it's Python or Java or C++. After you get more comfortable with language, more familiar, then you should be able to finish every question within 2 hours. And you're going to document your success and also your failure for each question. So keep a journal, keep a diary. Say this question is taking me too long. Maybe I'm going to find out a better solution. So maybe later, right, during the week, the end, every Friday, Saturday, each week, right, you're going to check what you have written down, the notes, and right, okay, this question, I think now I have a better idea. Or this question, right, 2 months ago, I did not know how to do. Now I think I know how to do it. So keep going back, revisit. Each question is, solving each question is like writing an essay. Every time you write an essay, you're going to write it differently. The same thing, you're solving a USACO question, you're going to put it differently, because anyway, you're going to write, right? Even though this is the Java, it is still a language. So every time you write an essay in Java, also it will be different. So just to make yourself speak fluent with language, and then you can solve the question. All right. So at the beginning, put it a little bit flexible. 2 hours, or even say 2.5 hours, that's fine. But as we get closer and closer to the contest, please give yourself the same pace. So roughly hour and 20 minutes for each question. Python still is okay. Actually, the language actually does not matter. I think I've tried to mention that at the beginning. Yes, in the test, you're going to submit it to the USACO server, and then you will get the result, how many cases you pass. You don't know the input, you don't know the output, except the one that is included in the description, like this one. You have one sample test case where you know the input, you know the output. And then for all the others, you don't. You just know how many you passed. You're going to keep coming back, think, what could go wrong? That's the debugging process. Oh, this is a test case, right? It says sample input. So this is an test case. As I put it here, right? If you run here, right? Run this one here. Do you get the same output? If you do, that means you have passed the first case. And then there are maybe 10, maybe there are 9 more cases, or maybe there are 19 more cases. If you get all of them correct, then you get the credit for that question. Yes, you're right. You're going to test your program either with the sample input you receive from the description, or you're going to design your own test cases where you know the answer and then run your program. Do you get the answer? If you do, good. If you don't, then find out what went wrong. That can happen. Okay, there is another question. If you have never taken any computer science introductory class, can you still enroll in the bronze level? Depends. If you're in middle school, then I do not recommend doing this in a harsh way, in a rush. But if you are in high school, especially, right, I'm already a sophomore, I want to do this one faster. Yes, you can, but you're going to get yourself familiar with language in a short period of time. But if you have say, I've taken the APCSA and then passed the AP test, then can I take the bronze class? Yes, definitely. Okay, so it's up to you. Very good. Okay. There are 4 days, right, in one round. Can you take all 4 days? Yes, but you only have one chance. Say, right, I took it on Friday, then I can still do it on Saturday? No, you can't. When the result will be released, at the right, the passing threshold will be announced in the coming Friday or Saturday, and then you know whether you pass or not. As I said, right, you should know your score. It's just not clear, right, where the passing threshold is. Of course, right, the only thing is if you get a perfect score, then no matter how high or how low the passing threshold, right, you would be promoted. Or say, right, I only solved 3 test cases for 3 questions, then you know for sure you're not going to pass, right? So that's easy. Okay, so the difference between the 3 rounds, right? The first 3 rounds, you have 4 hours for 3 questions. For the last US Open round, you have 5 hours. So if you say, right, which round is harder, then of course, right, US Open round will be harder. Okay, all right, so guys, I'm gonna stop here and then get ready for the next level for the silver class open class. All right, so we are here at the moment, right, trying to help you to get this training as pleasant, as smooth as possible, but we expect you to work also hard. So in the bronze level, you're supposed to work on average at 30-40 minutes a day. I know that's not too much, but to stay with it, to make it a habit, still is not so easy. All right, okay, the video will be shared later, and you're going to receive announcement from the momentum.com, the info, the email account. Anyway, should be available at Zoom, right? We have tried to make the recording available at Zoom, so we don't have to upload to the Google Drive link. We used to do that one. That is kind of tedious and not reliable. So from now on, we're going to make all the recording at Zoom. And of course, right, if this is still not very working well, we're going to find ways to better serve you guys. All right, so I'm going to stop here and looking forward to seeing you guys in the near future. Bye.